Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward, Chapter 137. The rows of men and women, servants and merchants alike, stood still under Millie's watchful eye. She started to move away from the great tent, Kayana silently taking a place behind her, a safe distance away. The people stood or kneeled with uncertain looks. They shied away from looking at her as she approached. Some women blessed her feet as she passed, crying out in joy. Others looked down, guilt written over their features. Millie did not say a word. It was not necessary. As she passed row upon row of servants, she neared the far end of the audience area, which held the more high-ranking merchants. These two had abased themselves before her. There was no distinction in their show of faith when these people were faced with their God. Millie moved on silent feet, like an apparition come to bring grave news. Whispers of "Zaxis! Zaxis!" followed her, although it felt that the entire crowd was holding their breath, waiting for her to pass judgment of some kind. Millie's mind raced. She would need to do something to appease them, to meet their expectations. Should she choose a champion? Perhaps she could command them to bring her far from this place, to the far coast. She didn't like the way Gavis looked at her, with mad exultation in his eyes. He believed this was real. And what if it was? She suddenly thought. Had their God placed his blessing upon her? She looked to the sash at her waist. The brilliant metallic threads glittered ominously in the sun. A soldier raised his eyes to look at Millie as she passed his kneeling form. He was not afraid of her. He had a look of calm, readiness. Millie almost missed a step. Would the people turn on her if they realized she was a charlatan? Would they question her choice of champion? Uncertain, Millie refrained from choosing Kayana, her original choice, for fear of being discovered. Would she be killed if she could not perform as they predicted? Millie continued gliding forward on unsure feet. Another man raised his eyes to meet hers openly, almost in challenge. A quiet murmur rose slowly as she passed another row of kneeling men and women. She did not dare look back to Kayana or show any form of perceived weakness. A child smiled at her, sitting quietly next to a man whose beard had begun to turn gray. She recognized her. Annalena. Millie stopped, pointing her finger towards the child. "I have chosen my champion. This girl will be my acolyte, and will represent my will upon the land. Do not defy her, for she speaks as Zaxis commands." Millie let her voice ring out through the crowded mass of bodies. A hush fell. Annalena, no older than herself, smiled a wolfish grin and stepped forward. She moved before Millie and raised her palm in the air, waiting. Not understanding, Millie simply stood there. After a moment, Millie raised her own palm and that of the child's, and a burst of awed shouts rippled through the crowd. "Zaxis has come! Zaxis will see through the eyes of this child, doubling his power as the world sleeps," Gavis intoned, as if breaking from a deep trance. "See your God, and bow before him." Spittle flew from his mouth as he spoke. Those who had been kneeling brought their bodies parallel with the ground. Millie could feel the tension as a veritable coil of lightning that had stayed with her as she moved about. Kayana came forth, and the merchant leader shrieked in alarm. "No mortal is allowed to touch the flesh of a god. Guards, pull her down." Men stood quickly, shouldering heavy spears, moving quickly to intercept Kayana before she reached Millie. "Stop!" The single word exploded from Millie's mouth, her anger rising. She raised her arm as a scorpion might raise its deadly stinger. The effect was the same. The guards froze mid-motion, not willing to oppose the direct will of a god. Millie felt the icy chill of frozen anger at her core, radiating out in intense heat at the tips of her extremities. Men and women began to scream, those closest begging and putting their heads down while simultaneously scrabbling to get away from her. Kayana stood like she was frozen in place. Was that the fear she saw on the woman's face? Why? Millie looked down, her view undulating in strange waves, and saw that her ebony and golden sash was gone. She felt wave after wave of hatred and anger flow through her, and her sight was more clear somehow, more perfect. Zabi was unable to look away. An enormous serpent sat directly before him and his mother. Her bony arm hugged him close to her, forcing his head down to the earth. He could hear her praying beneath her breath. The snake had giant diamond patterns of gold and bronze scales that mixed with the night-black body of the beast. Its maw was terrible, and the soldiers who had ringed it had dropped their weapons, moving back slowly as fear gripped their hearts. The eyes of the snake met his, and for a moment he saw intelligence there. He knew they were waiting to die, waiting for the demon to take a sacrifice. A child had been chosen, and quivered before the mammoth serpent as if under a spell. A warrior woman stalked the beast, but she too stood frozen, unable to draw breath. Zabi buried his head again, hoping to stay death's hand. The merchant lord Gavis laughed a dark, rich sound that fell over the trembling bodies of their people. He was supposed to protect them. Now one of them would die, and he would do nothing to stop it.